what's your name and how long have you been at Starbucks?
My name is Caitlin. I have been working here for 3 years.
Okay. What brought you to Starbucks originally?
I came to Starbucks because I had worked in coffee previously. I had worked at like small cafe jobs and they all kept closing down. And I decided that I wanted to work somewhere that was going to have more organized management, which, believe it or not, I actually did accomplish that goal coming here, as well as somewhere that was not going to shut down because we had 20 customers a day.
Yeah. And what is it like working with your coworkers? Is it like a lot of camaraderie? Like, is it a good folks to work with?
Absolutely, yeah. When we first organized, I think the solidarity was much thinner than it is these days because it was a really stressful time to be in the store. There was a lot of union busting, there was just like tensions were high. That was when Starbucks was like really cracking down in ways that we don't see anymore. And so it was a difficult time to work in a union store. But as we kind of got more comfortable in our own union and as we started to bond over our shared experiences more and more, we have almost unanimous support in our store, and we won our election. I believe it was 38 to 27. So we won it by a margin, but it wasn't an outrageous supermajority or anything. And so now, knowing that we have somewhere in the vicinity of 95% support and strike participation is pretty incredible.
Nice. In the lead up to the strike authorization, what was the sentiments going in?
People are tired of not having a contract. It's been 3 years that people have been like, are we ready to bargain? Are they going to bargain with us? And then they started bargaining with us, and it's like, are we going to get a wage proposal? Are we going to get a wage proposal? What are they going to offer us? So it's definitely, there's a lot of exasperation, a lot of righteous anger, but I would say that people are really good at successfully pointing that frustration at the right target.
Yeah. What's been the biggest, I guess, sticking point in the, well, maybe I'll rephrase that. What have the workers been most adamant about getting in this contract?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it really depends on where in the country you are. Here in Seattle, of course, we have workers who live paycheck to paycheck. We have workers who want and need more money. Wages will always be important. But because of our high minimum wage here and the fact that we do make very high credit card tips, especially at our location, wages, I think, falls down the list compared to, say, like Philly, where they also have a high cost of living, but they have baristas making $15 an hour, $16 an hour after credit card tips, maybe. And then if you go to a red state, like say you go to Oklahoma or Florida or Texas, workers there are definitely going to be focusing on things like protections, trans rights, trans health care. Washington State has laws requiring a certain level of coverage for trans healthcare benefits. So it's not something that we're going to be fighting for so much for ourselves, but for our siblings in those red areas. Health and safety is a huge one all around. Respect and dignity, and of course, health insurance, just in general, beyond the trans benefits. We have a pretty wide range of things that I think people are prioritizing for themselves, for their stores, for their cities, their states. But I think one of the most beautiful things about bargaining is that we are really, really good at knowing how to balance all of those priorities and find the balance that's going to benefit the most number of people without leaving anyone behind.
Yeah, sweet. And what's it like sort of seeing your union to grow exponentially the last few years?
So great. We were within the first so we were somewhere between store 30 and 50. I should really look up what that number is. We were definitely under store 50. We unionized. We filed within 2 months, I think less than 2 months, of the store in Buffalo winning their election. And so we kind of got our foot in the door in the very beginning. And it was crazy. It was crazy living in those first 6 months where we were just filing store after store after store and winning election after election after election. It's like, we're filing multiple stores a day for months on end. And then, it kind of stagnated, it slowed down a little bit. And then as soon as we began bargaining, it picked right back up. And we're almost at the pace that we were at the very beginning, which is so incredible, especially considering that we're now doing that organizing in the wake of all of the union busing that happened in those first 6 months that I think chilled it out for a long time. I would say it's exhilarating.
Yeah. And then now that you're on strike, what's been the I guess the impression of the strike so far, spirits right now?
Well, we've been out here at the roastery. We've been out here for, what time is it? It's like 1 p.m.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think it's like noon. We've been out here for
11:31.
11:31. We've been out here for coming up on 36 hours straight. And for the majority of that time, we're having an active picket line going. Spirits are high. I'm watching people jumping around and dancing in front of me. And, we're on hour 34 right now or something like that. Spirits are high. If there was ever a time where people were losing hope and getting tired, it's certainly not now, which may be surprising to some people, but people feel that the end is finally near, I think.
Sweet. And I'll make one last quick one. I mean, not a quick one, but with the Starbucks workers United on strike and Amazon Teamsters on strike, what message do you want to send to other workers who are also struggling and trying to find a way of getting ahead in this economy right now? It's the idea of unionizing feels very frightening. It feels like a really big word, a very loaded word. And maybe this is controversial and maybe I'll regret my phrasing, but it doesn't really mean that much to unionize. It's like you're probably 60%. If you're complaining with your coworkers about how much you hate your job, you're 60 or 70% of the way to having a union. So just go the extra mile. You're so close. You've gotten through all of the bad parts, most of the bad parts, and a union is on the horizon. And if you don't have a union, then other unions will be fighting for you to get those things that you need. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Tell us your name and how long you've been at Starbucks.
Yeah, my name's Mari Cosgrove, and I've been working at Starbucks since 2014, and I've been a union member for 3 years now.
What brought you to Starbucks originally?
Originally, I was 18 and I heard about the IWW organizing at Starbucks, and so I was like, that sounds kind of sick. And so I showed up and there wasn't a whole lot going on. So then I stuck around for the healthcare, and I've just really enjoyed, I enjoy my job. I like making coffee, I like talking to people, and I like having healthcare.
Yeah, nice. How's it, it's do you and your coworkers have a lot of camaraderie between you?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. My store has always been we usually have a fairly tight-knit community, but it's been a lot better after we unionized. It's much more, we all understand, we're here for each other, and so people are much more free with reaching out with needs for support, or if a manager's being annoying, or doing something illegal. There's a lot of camaraderie and a sense of community that we just can't replace.
What were some of the issues which helped mobilize workers to unionize in the first place?
Yeah, I think a big thing is the fact that every job has its problems. We would bring them up a lot to our managers, and nothing would ever change. We'd get a lot of, I'm so sorry, that sucks, and then nothing changed. And we realized that unions really do have the power to enforce a change that is just not what we've experienced so far, and so we ended up organizing to make things happen. Things like credit card tipping was really big. Tips at Starbucks were historically really bad up until we got credit card tipping. And then another big thing was really just the ability to fight back when if a manager was being racist, homophobic, sexist, the ability to be able to everyone speaking up about it and then being legally protected when we do so was a really big draw.
When Starbucks Workers United began to organize its first stores, and there was suddenly like momentum behind organizing, what did it feel like? Did it feel like suddenly like you saw like the tide shifting?
Yeah, I remember. So coming out of 2020, as we were going into 2021, it was one of those like, this is like we really need to do this. We need to organize. We need to be actually like fucking fighting back. And me and my coworkers at the time in the store were just like, how do we do this? How do we do this? Do I need to file a paper somewhere? Like, we could not figure it out because the process seemed really daunting. And then when Buffalo announced their intent, and then when Buffalo won, it was like, oh, holy shit, we can do this. All I gotta do is talk to a barista out in New York. And so, yeah, it felt like for the first time, unionizing became actually accessible to like the food industry.
For this contract negotiation, what was the sentiment or like the feelings like amongst all the Starbucks workers going into this fight?
Yeah. There's, I think, equal parts exhaustion. We've been going at this now for, Buffalo's been going at it for 3 years. We're coming up on our 3-year anniversary in April. It's one of those things where it's like, it's been a long time coming, and people really wanted this contract ASAP. But there was also, my store is always ready to fight. There was not going to be any settling for less than what we think we can get. And so there was a really real feeling of, let's shoot for the moon, let's land where we can, and let's make a reasonable impact on our working conditions.
And with this historic strike going on and Amazon Teamsters striking this weekend, what would you tell that any worker anywhere who's facing issues like that to maybe encourage them?
I would say that this is genuinely a lot easier than you'd think. Sometimes it can seem daunting, you know, you gotta talk to all your coworkers, you gotta get them to sign union cards, blah, blah, blah. It is literally just chatting with each other. It is just showing that you care for each other, and then you just make it official. You sign a little piece of paper and there you go. It's so much easier than you would think. If baristas can do it, anyone can do it.